Hello, I'm horror cartoonist Dennis St. John. I draw monsters and write twisted tales. As you can imagine, I was a little obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Lucky for me, so were most of my high school friends, all except one. One friend who stubbornly refused to join the Scoobies. So here we are, 20-some-odd years later. I'm teaming up with Doc Travis, John Teach Landis, and maybe a special guest or two. And we're going to make our friend, Michael Poley, watch one episode of Buffy a week until he's no longer the Buffy Virgin. Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of Buffy Virgin, the only Buffy podcast where it's a bunch of men talking about Buffy, one of whom has never seen it before. I'm your host, Dennis St. John, and we are watching Season 4, Episode 9, Something Blue. We are joined, as always, by the sharpest tack in the shed, Scalpel, Doc Travis.
Wearing blue in memory.
We are joined also by famous webcam boy, Johnny Lando.
I'm also wearing something blue.
Such a webcam boy.
And as always, Michael the Virgin Poley.
Hey, that's right. I've only seen Buffy up to Season 4, Episode 9, Something Blue.
And this is a packed house. We have, for the first time in a full year, Jim Withington at Jay Withington on Twitter. What's your handle? How do you do?
Jay Withy.
Jay Withy, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Hello.
We're happy to have you back. I was not on the last episode you're on, I don't think. Was I? My memory's terrible.
Maybe. Mine is too.
Have I met you before, is I guess the question.
Maybe?
I think you have.
I think you might have been on the last one, but hey.
Okay. Well, it's been a rough year.
He's had a lot going on.
All right. So let's begin, as we always do now, with reactions.
Audience reactions.
We are getting reactions this week from Wild at Heart due to our recording schedule. That was the last one we got. So why don't we begin with the YouTube reactions? Mike, you want to read those?
Yeah, sure. From Silver Spike 1, first reaction here. Haven't got an awful lot to say about this episode, as Wild at Heart was never one of my faves. I find it a tad blah. Always find myself skipping through it after the Spike intro.
I can see that.
And then from Sagoff9, yes, Oz totally betrayed Buffy by protecting Veruca.
All right, then you get the point, Mike.
Thank you, Sagoff9. The only person who looks out for my points.
What?
On Twitter, from Dennis Cattell, we have, this is again reaction to Wild at Heart. Poor Willow was really put through the grinder in that episode. Fortunately, Allison was more than capable of showing a girl in torment. We so feel for her by the end of that, and then cry emoji. Yeah, for real. She did well with the sadness. And Renan Oz says, explains, Travis made comments about men's sheds and just learning about this organization. So Renan Oz gave us some more information. She says, so men's sheds are pretty awesome. They were created to address issues of isolation and poor mental health amongst retired men, not only as a social gathering place, but as a way to maintain skill sets and learn new ones. A lot of them work with local schools/groups. So that sounds pretty cool. Trav, do you have anything to say to that?
No, that was my impression. I've just never participated in a men's shed because I just learned about them, and I'm not yet retired, but they sound very nice.
They sound cool. And she also says, this is in regards to me reading her last tweet. She says, and your reading was pitch perfect. No snark attached. Quote unquote that app. I'd put money on my cred, both in experience and boundless useless info/trivia will rival pretty much anyone. So she's really pitching for being in that episode. I think it might happen. It might just happen.
I hope so.
So why don't we go on to the summary?
The summary.
You say anything, it comes true. Even if I don't want to, I'm not in control. You'll say Spike has come between us. Wedding plans have come between us. I know Giles doesn't care. And I said, don't you think spells can be dangerous? And Willow said, I think Amy's a girl now. And as I recall, she's still stuck eating rat food. And I said, well, that's the one which we've caught. Buffy's flirty, it's making me feel dirty. Thank God that Spike can't hurty, and Angel's in LA. So what now? Is Willow a vengeance demon? Can have a bridesmaid that's a vengeance demon. Will not bring good luck. And Willow said, Xander, you're a demon magnet. And Xander said, hey, well, I'm just trying to help. And as I recall, Supavo demons can only be killed by drowning. And Willow's magic is more dangerous than not.
That was awesome. Music is the best. All right. Thank you for that. Let's move on to Great Lines.
Great lines.
Mike, why don't you go first?
Sure, this is a Buffy and Spike duet. Buffy says, why don't we talk about where we're going to register? Spike, well, where would Angel like to register? And can we have the photographer Angel would have wanted? And flowers Angel would have liked? And then from Buffy, hey, you think I don't live with the shadow of Drusilla over my head? That I'm not wondering if you're going to be thinking of her on our honeymoon when we're making sweet love to me?
So weird. Such a weird episode. All right. I got a couple. This is from Anya. Blessed be in the name of Dahafran. Let this space be now a gateway to the world of Arashmaha, where demons are spawned. We come in the supplication. We bend as the reed in the flow of the... No, wait. We come in the flow of the... Blessed in the name. And then this is a two-parter. Xander's first has the... Just think of my lips as the fruit roll-ups of love. Okay? That was gross. And then Giles later on, stop. Whatever you're doing, you smell like fruit roll-ups.
Should we explain what fruit roll-ups are to an international audience? Google it.
You can Google it. Yeah. Jim, why don't you throw yours at?
All right. I've got a bunch, so I'm not going to do them all. But I really I liked the part where they're talking about Spike being harmless, and they refer to him as impotent. And he was like, "Hey," and so Buffy was like, "Flaccid?" And Giles had a lot of like, "Oh, good question" kind of lines, and the like they were just sort of tossed in. I like that with him being blind, he was just sort of like, he was just sort of off in the corner, but he'd be like, someone would be like, "What's wrong with Buffy?" And a good question, and just sort of mutter off and that sort of thing. I had a couple lines. I don't know if I would call these great, but I had to bring this up. Although I might save one of them for later. But there was a good Xander awkwardness line where they talked about Buffy being back in the prehistoric times, and he said, "Well, it's like that, but sadly without the fuzzy bikini." So always going to Xander.
Yeah, I do like that now. Anya's part of it, so she can be like, Xander, off topic.
Yeah, stop. Yeah.
But so instant, that's like the 10th or 20th time she's had to say off topic Xander, because it was just immediate reaction. Off topic Xander.
Yeah.
John, I want you to have the full impression.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Do your best, Camboy.
Yeah, when Spike and Buffy are kind of making out, and he says, "Oh, Pouty, look at that lip. Gonna get it. Now, I chose this line, which is not a great line from the episode, but this connects with a horrible experience I had in my life. Where
it begins early this week.
Yeah. So I more awkward than really horrible. But when I had a girlfriend once, and
I'm very proud of you, John.
I used this exact line once when we were making out about, oh, that lip gonna get it. And I think it was just out of like, I don't know. I don't know why I thought that was a funny or okay thing to say. But then later, because I made her watch all of Buffy, we got to this episode and she realized that I had cribbed this line when we were making out and she got really mad at me. Which I deserved. I mean, definitely.
Perhaps a reasonable response.
Great artist steal, man. Great artist.
Yeah, I think you should have gotten props for that. I don't know.
I don't think I'm a great artist when it comes to making out.
Or wait.
Oh.
That's not what the online reviews say.
Yeah. It's not what the Yelps say.
Trav, why don't you just throw some at us?
Oh yeah, so I think I picked this because it's a message that Giles leaves on Willow's answer machine, and if I was Willow, I would save it forever because it's the craziest message. Giles is calling up. He goes, "Oh, hey Willow, it's Giles. I thought you were bringing the ingredients for that spell. I really have to." And then Spike's screaming in the background, "Passions is on. Timmy's down a bloody well. You gotta let me see this." And then Giles, still holding the phone, screams back, "You'll do what? Lick me to death." "Oh, Willow, I really think we ought to try that spell. Among other things, I'd like to shower sometime today. Hello." Thanks, it's like, what is this message, man? It is like amazing. And it's on an old-timey message machine, so you just walk in the room and you just push play, and you get this crazy-ass fucking message. Oh, I just love it.
Unless you have a demon answering machine.
John, why don't you explain to us how answering machines work? In great detail. What button do you press? All right, let's move on to, my kill count.
The kill count.
So this episode, we get one vampire easily staked, perhaps the easiest staking that's ever happened on the show. One confirmed demon drowning, and two were poofed as if they never really existed. So whether they count or not is unknown to me. So let's move on to the main course, Weird Noticings and Trivia.
Weird Noticings.
John, why don't you start us?
So, obvious fashion note here, which if I hadn't written down, I'm sure all of you would have, is Willow's weird armless sweater, which I guess it's a poncho, but it's like a mini poncho, sort of like she stole it from a tiny cowboy. It's really bizarre.
It looks wonderful. I also want to point out she's wearing this while out on patrol. It seems like this would potentially hinder her movement. Not that it matters when it's a one-stake vampire night, but pretty dangerous. And they also passed the Albert Mausoleum again, so she's walking around the same cemeteries from high school.
Oh, is that the giveaway? That it's that same one? I mean, they also are almost pose in front of it, or Buffy wants to get her some photos for their future wedding, right?
I just remember the Albert Mausoleum from before. And in Buffy Scar Watch, in the scene where she's flaunting her neck cleavage at a thirsty Spike, you can see Buffy's scar, which would, of course, be the appropriate time to show it. That was the only time I noticed it this episode. John?
So I have a question about Oz, because it's stated twice that Oz sent for his stuff. How do you send for your things? It seems like a 19th century kind of a thing, like you send your valet or something to go pick up your things. How does this work?
I also, that there was Devin said that, which I was saying earlier in Wild at Heart that he lives with dingoes, and you said that's not confirmed, but I think it's confirmed now.
Is it? Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure I'm not sure you can assume he lives in town, but to answer your question, John, first you need to get a plot of land, preferably agricultural, or you can be a merchant banker and then hire a manservant, and then they can send him all kinds of places and then go back 100 years. I don't know. I don't know how modern, send for things. You can have people at your house.
I feel like what happened was Oz called up his roommates and was like, "You guys can just sell my stuff." I feel like that's probably what happened.
It kind of looked like somebody ransacked it too. I was like, maybe he got his werewolf buddies to like go grab his stuff.
I'm surprised the bed wasn't on fire, and there are all these. Yeah, it looked very. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust the members of Dingo to like properly pack and stuff, right?
Yeah.
They're like, that's what we need roadies for.
They like ripped his posters off the wall. There's still like corners on the wall. Like, come on, you gotta be careful with that stuff.
They're as hurt by odds of, as abandonment as Willow is. Like, we never want to see him again.
You know, I used to clean apartments that were inhabited by college students, and that looked like only a mildly bad.
Mild ransack.
Yeah.
Oh man, a couple weeks ago when I was at Comic-Con, I made like the biggest, dumbest messes of my room twice, which was very embarrassing because I on my bed I like dropped a cup of coffee and didn't notice and let it spill all over the comforter, and so I just wrote a note that said, "Sorry, it's only coffee," because it's this big brown stain in the middle of the thing. Left $20. And I was like, God, the worst. Like they're gonna hate me. And then like 2 days later, I did it again. I did the exact same move again. And I was like, oh no, they're definitely not gonna believe that it was coffee this time.
Same hotel?
Same hotel room. Yep.
Wow.
Dennis, you just need to start alibying up, man. I mean, you need to find people who are going to be willing to corroborate your whereabouts on those nights.
Start drinking crystal clear coffee when you're in hotel rooms.
So anyway, be careful where you put your coffee in hotel rooms is the lesson I learned. All right. John, why don't you ask the next one?
Yeah, so like I feel like the Scoobies are like really shitty friends in this episode to Willow because she is going through a breakup. She is feeling dumped and shitty, and they give her this massive headache. They give her this massive harangue because she's having, as far as we know, one beer.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand she's underage, but she's allowed to have a fucking beer if she's dumped. If I was dumped and my friends gave me a hard time for drinking, I would get new friends.
Yeah, that was bullshit. That upset me. That was like this fucking like anti-drug messaging on this show that like has no place in a college like level show, right? Fuck this shit.
It's all relative, right? I mean, because Willow is such a straight-laced character. When she goes, when she goes off like on the bench, like she can't handle like some mild. She hasn't had the experience to handle, this type of substance abuse.
I get that every time Buffy drinks, she like almost gets eaten by a serpent.
Yeah, but they were really harsh on Buffy getting wasted. Remember that. And then of course Buffy is like reverse.
In fairness, though, like Buffy like had a lot of beers with a bunch of jerks at a bar.
Yeah, and
Willow had a light beer and was dancing. Like,
what was she dancing to, by the way?
One light beer and spilled a light beer.
That's reasonable behavior when you're dumped. More than reasonable. That's reasonable behavior for Thursday.
But she was also a bad drunk. I mean, let's be real. Let's be honest. You wouldn't want her to have more.
Nobody should be having that much fun while listening to Blink-182, right?
I was surprised to hear that because I feel like that's so zeitgeisty of Buffy, and I just expect them to be a little bit off, like them to be in the realm of alternative rock, but not to like be so on the nose. Because Enema of the State came out that year, and for them to be playing Blink-182, like probably one of the most popular songs, I don't know if it was topping the charts, but it was probably playing at least in the heavy on MTV rotation, and for that to be the song that Willow's dancing light beer drunk to was a little bit of a surprise. I was like, what? Is this like, are clips from this in a music video somewhere? Because I feel like they so lock down the image control and licensing as it relates to popular music, and the fact that you could watch this now and it hasn't been ripped out for some reason and replaced with a light rock version or something. I don't know. Just popular music is a weird thing, and it's so strange to hear super popular music out of context.
Yeah. It made me wonder if maybe that was a song that they grabbed it and then it became popular, because I was like, it seems like it would have cost too much to get that song otherwise, because it was so big.
They must have made a guess then, right? Because this came out in 99, November 99, right? And that album dropped in March 99 is what, and I only know this from Wikipedia. I don't like, hey, guys want to know any time of, it was June 99. So it was recorded even January to March. I don't know when they selected what was going on, but they were really on top of it. Yeah. Or they just had a hole in their catalog and they're like, okay, this is where we drop in the song.
The song of the week or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think the WB and now the CW are very much like the stations that are on top of like, let's play what the kids are listening to these days, right? Like they want the current music.
I did like that they picked the actual like chorus lyrics of "Say It Ain't So, I Will Not Go" because she's all sad about him leaving. I thought that was pretty good and like right on the nose. So it was good.
I was trying to see who the studio was, or I mean, what label? MCA. I can't see Universal Music Group. Okay, I was gonna say because this was Fox. It was a Fox show that was aired on the WB, but it wasn't a Warner label. So I can't explain away through the music rights. Sometimes you can explain away as a Warner artist or depending on the label. But obviously this was filmed, 8 weeks before it was aired. So they had to obtain the rights maybe in June or July.
All right. Jim, what's this next noticing you have?
Oh, that we talked about this a little bit already because they had the line about, or we talked about her scar, but like that was weird. That was a really weird moment. It was like, why would she be doing that? Like, what? Like, it just was sort of like it was funny, but Buffy kind of being like, oh, do you really want to drink from my neck or whatever? And it was just a little bit of good foreshadowing, kind of, for the rest of the episode. But like, it was also just really creepy. It was just like, what is happening here? Like, why? What?
This episode is like a hardcore Spuffy episode. Like, I mean, directly, it's like a wish fulfillment Spuffy episode. Like, it's definitely like acknowledging this is what the fans are into right now, right? Like, it knew what the fans wanted.
Well, it's just turning
neck cleavage.
It's just turning everything on its head episode. It's like, oh, it's opposite episode. It's turning everything on its head.
But it didn't have the same setup necessarily for Giles. It was just, it was very much about the Spike and Buffy thing. Like, I guess Giles is a book nerd, so him not being able to see, that's going to screw with everything. But the Spike Buffy, that setup was hilarious and creepy. And it's so outspoken for her to be showing off her neck like that. I mean, really, the Spike level of torture is really fun in this episode. Like how they just
so good
on from Spike being dangerous. Like since he came to dinner.
Oh, also, Giles finally got proper manacles this episode.
I was going to comment on.
Angel's old place to get those?
Yeah, they're like, this. Why don't we just get them? And I like his locked in the tub situation because it's also very like Margot Tenenbaum with the TV right at the edge of the bathtub. Like, it's a weird cage situation.
I mean, the levels of Spike are pretty funny. Like later on, he's like, I can't believe this is a team that foils me again and again.
This does seem like it was written by a fan. Yeah. It almost doesn't seem like it could be canon.
And yet, Travis, what's your comment?
Off topic, Xander. Move on. Oh man, that's what we should have been saying when Xander's like sexist and creepy for the past 3 years or 2 years. Off topic, Xander.
Well, was it on Buffering where they were talking about getting a little spray bottle like for a dog that's bad? It's like spray on him. I don't think we can take credit for that joke, but
it's funny. Yeah. John, what's your comment?
There's I don't know why it was that I didn't feel like it was gross when they were feeding Spike blood in a mug, but then later when Buffy, which is under the spell, and she microwaves it for him to body temperature and gives it to him like something about that just made me gag. It's something super nasty about that. I don't know why it's grosser. I mean, and
would you prefer if it was heated over the stovetop?
Yeah, microwaving is part of what's weird about that, and I guess drinking any body temperature liquid seems kind of gross, like for some reason. It also made me wonder about like how did they keep the blood from clotting? You know, when you have a cup of blood, do you need to like dose it with something to keep it from clotting? Did that come that way from the butcher shop?
No. You need EDTA. That's what we use that's what people use in medicine, EDTA.
Wow.
Oh.
What about
what
just
does that stand
sprinkling
for?
it with like a little bit of cinnamon? Would that work?
Fun fact.
Get this man some cinnamon.
Gosh. I think it's totally normal. I mean, that's the temperature blood is supposed to be at. I mean, I don't think it's that
I'm not
weird.
disputing the logic. I'm just it just gave me a little bit of I gagged a little when I saw it.
I thought drinking blood from a straw was gross.
That was the.
Oh, I
that was the
love
gross-
when they took the mug away.
It's dripping everywhere. That was
Just, like, sitting there with- yeah.
that was amazing.
Yeah. That you know, in San Francisco right now, there's big debates about straws, and I know like everybody's making fun of liberals for straws or something, but like an anti-straw guy should totally use that GIF. Be like, straws are murder. And be like,
You know, and it did make me actually think, like, could Spike drink through a paper straw, or would that, you know, would the blood get, you know, kind of just like any other drink, you know, especially a body temperature drink? Would that work in a paper straw?
what about a cold doodle?
Oh yeah, for a while. Or you can do a metal straw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I don't know. I mean the whole him drinking blood is just so amazing.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Mike?
Oh, yeah. So this amazing scene after Willow has endowed herself with godlike powers and then just suggests the idea of Amy no longer being a rat, and then she's there, and then she's a rat again is insane. And like, it's one of the most.
Did that drive you crazy? Because like, you know, you've like got a long running like prediction about that, and you're like, ah.
Well, I'm sure it made fans of the show crazy at the time. Yes, it does make me a little bit crazy. It's such an amazing throwaway gag to do, to like acknowledge that Amy's a powerful magician. She'd be a great ally. I'd love her to be here. Then she's here, and she's like briefly reacting to being human for a second and is so excited. And then like is back in rat form. I rewound it because I was like, what induced that? Because I know she just suggested the idea it happened. It's a great manifestation of like how powerful Willow is in this, you know, after this blessing she's given herself. But like, that's such a rad sequence, and like it's so playful and demented. And then also that as a rat, I guess if you're on all fours, that's the equivalent to having your arms and legs covered. And I get that that's like a PG way for her to be there and then back without exposing her body. But I was still like, I wanted her to be in a more awkward pose than that, than they gave her. And so that also threw me, because I was like, I don't know. It's a lovely scene.
I also like that she did do her spell like in the dorm room bathroom. That kind of cracks me up. Like that's such a great like the dealing with being a magic user in the normal world, and like
like this has a big enough floor, so we'll do it here.
Yeah.
And maybe the candles won't burn the carpet. There's no carpet to burn in here. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone stay out. Willow's had a few light beers.
Also, like that they got the actress who plays Amy back again.
Yeah.
For, like,
Just to do that.
a split second. They're like, "You're gonna come on. We're gonna get you naked, and then we're gonna get you out of here."
And that's like it's like a deep callback, you know. If you can't, it's like again back. It's like the reverse of what was going on TV at the time, where it was like you can miss a couple episodes and still know what was going on. This was like we always talk about Buffy being like the show with these long story arcs. So it's like a way callback, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her hair looks too good for her to have been a rat all that time.
Should have been more of a rat's nest.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I don't. Maybe that's good. I was like, maybe Willow takes care of her pet. But
Oh yeah. Also, how can they have a pet rat? I mean, how can they have any pets in the dorm that isn't like a goldfish?
well, we have never met their RA. They don't.
Well, if it's a Riley type, it's fine. Riley would let any girls do anything they wanted. So it's fine.
He is a lesbian.
Oh, yeah, we totally ignored the weird opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah, I don't either. It's a weird joke that doesn't work. Doesn't land.
No, not at all.
So in the scene where Xander is trying to like comfort Willow, he's like, "We're not doomed," and like I thought maybe that's a reference to the "I, Robot You Jane" episode where it ends with them all being like, "Face it, we're all doomed."
That's how I took it. I definitely thought that was a callback.
I liked the callback then. A lot of callbacks this episode.
I have to say that scene, I think if you're talking the one I was thinking of, like when he was basically like, we're all going through stuff, Will. You know, we all have pain, Will. And when she was just like, "Oh, poor me, I live in a basement." I was like, wow, damn. That was cold.
I mean, that is maybe why she shouldn't drink.
Yeah.
The shitty mean drunk, but still,
Yeah.
let her have a beer.
It was funny when Willow was like to Xander, "You're a demon magnet. You know, first praying mantis lady, then the Inca mummy girl, now Anya." It's interesting she left out Cordelia, even though she and Cordelia didn't have a very good relationship. She easily could have said Cordelia and then now Anya, but she didn't.
I like Xander's label as being a demon magnet, and it fits. But like, she dated a robot demon and a werewolf. Like,
yeah, she's like a
glass
supernatural
houses.
magnet.
Glass houses. That's all.
Yeah. The comeback for that is fairly obvious.
Also, it appeared through the story, the episode, it seemed as if Anya said that she was a human first, and then was a demon. So it's like Anya's human. That's her natural state. She was just practicing magic, and then got recruited to be a revenge demon.
I was gonna bring that up later. Yeah,
So
it's the first time it's been indicated that Anya wasn't born a demon.
She was really a witch, right? I mean, she was really doing witchcraft.
Yeah, she's talking about doing like basic, what is it, like penis legion spells or something?
Second episode in a row where we've talked about penis lesions.
Hey,
That out.
You know,
Take a drink for that, people.
for an all dude podcast, it's remarkable that doesn't come up more often.
But you're just inferring that she was recruited to be a vengeance demon, right? We're assuming based on Willow's potential recruitment path, or is it more explicit?
Yeah.
No, when Anya recognizes the burn mark as like, oh, that's the old D'Hoffryn burn mark.
Yeah.
And then, when they're walking in the cemetery, she's like describing how she became
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's
she doesn't say I was a human, but she didn't, like, we don't know. She was at the very least a lesser form of demon. We don't know, like, but she doesn't refer to it as like being like converted into a monster. She calls it like ascension, right?
well, because those vengeance demons that we saw, you know, in that other through the portal, whatever, like they didn't look like they started as humans. So it seems like anybody can kind of like get into vengeance demonhood if they practice enough shitty magic.
Shitty magic is the way into demonhood.
Well, mean magic,
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay.
not bad magic.
But before we get to D'Hoffryn, let's cut back to what Mike thinks about Spike and Buffy.
This is such an amazing, weird couple situation. I don't know if people thought that Spike and Buffy were going to be a thing before this episode. Clearly the fans wanted it, but like to kind of walk through all these steps and jumping to the wedding part, the wedding idea versus like, oh, they're in love with each other and just making out. Like the wedding idea is such a fun gift to play like for actors, and for them to play it out so dramatically is great. And then like they're just obsessively planning the wedding, and you know, we see how like naive Buffy is and how stupid some of her wedding choices are, which get called back and made fun of, which are great. And then of course bringing in all their exes. You know, I pulled the quote at the beginning because it was so much fun. Like it was delightful, and like I didn't have any anxiety about how this thing was going to turn out.
Good.
It was just fun to watch. Like you knew it was going to get inverted at the end, and so it was just a blast.
Yeah, and I also feel like it's at the very most, it's the B plot, the Buffy Spike thing, you know. But because it's like Willow's transformation is the A plot, but it's so good. Like they had to name the episode after it. Like it's like what everybody remembers about this episode is like the Spike Buffy almost marriage, you know. It's just so solid. It's so
It's not just the two of them. It's also really like Giles' reactions, his reactions, and Xander's reactions.
I know, yeah,
Priceless.
Like, Giles' like actual emotional reaction for a second to being like asked to give the bride away. Like that's a real emotional moment that he would have, and then and he has it for real for a second, and then he's like, "God damn it, this is fucking."
I also really liked. I really liked that when Spike got mad at Xander, he was like, "Well, you're off the usher list." It's like because that implies that he was mentally saying he's on the usher list.
He's putting together his list.
Yeah, like I love that. Like somehow Xander's on the list anyway, but like not anymore.
No, it's so great that you just like as soon as you get married, then you immediately go into wedding planning mode, which is true, 100% true. So it's clearly written by someone that's really familiar with the wedding process, which I think is actually amazing, as opposed to someone who's like, I think this is what happens. Like, it's fantastic. I wish I had
flashbacks.
No, I wish I had seen this episode. When I was when Elizabeth and I were getting married, like where we were planning a wedding. It would have been a delight. I don't think there are a lot of things that hit that in like a fun way. I think there's those Bridezilla shows that kind of like really punish brides and their families, but there's not this kind of poking fun in a polite way, like not polite, but in a fun way like this in the context of a show. So it was really fun. And then of course, like when the inversion happens, when it's like, oh, all the spells are removed, just like their mutual disgust and like self-loathing is amazing. Yeah. And that like it's just so instantaneous.
And I I've said this a couple times, but like season 4, Sarah Michelle Gellar, her comedy chops are like so solid this season, and it's like they finally figured out how funny she is and to like use her in that way. Like I don't know, it's just impressive because it's like when you watch the beginning of the show, you wouldn't know she could do these like weird bits, So I just want to give praise to that. There's also like a lot of nice looking demons this episode, and can I tell you guys what I like and don't like about the various demons?
Please.
Sure.
Well, we have the return of D'Hoffryn, which I always think is excellent. He's a great-looking goat demon guy. He's played by an actor who shows up in an episode of Angel that Mike has watched. He's the creepy doctor guy, if you remember that one.
Which is the the creepy doctor? Oh yeah, the torture doctor.
Yeah,
that one. Yeah.
Or not the torture doctor, the guy who can remove his eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All the pieces.
The other doctor.
Yeah, he's that doctor.
Oh yeah.
And he I like that he like gives it both the gravitas of being like ancient elder demon, but he also treats it like it's an office job. He's like, well, all right, I did my best. Time to go on. I really like the spar-off demon that Xander drowns, both like weird and gross looking with the big teeth. And like I think in this show, vampires have like so many weird rules, and sometimes like demons are just like big monsters or just like big animals. So it's funny that this one random demon has a really specific weakness that like not only do you like drown it, but like drowning it causes it to like smoke and melt. So there's like it's one of those like nice little touches that feels like there's a backstory to those weird things.
No, why do you think there was standing water in that basement, just like in a sink? Anyway,
I wouldn't guess about what Xander thinks is an appropriate way to wash clothing.
Well, it's because he got made fun of for living in a basement. But if he wasn't in the basement, they wouldn't be able to kill the demon. So it all comes back.
His weakness is strong. I like it. The big-headed like horn demon, I thought looked way too much like Moloch the Corruptor. Looked like they took like that makeup again and then put him on the suits that the order that protected Conquistos wore. So I was like, that's all reused stuff. I don't like it. So those are my demon ratings for this episode. I hope you enjoyed them.
Yeah, I thought those were great. I thought the demon makeup was fantastic because it's always like a delight to see something that's not a vampire that's so well presented. And when the demon just kind of start to show up because of Xander's demon magnetism, like they're all pretty great looking. And then when Anya introduces the idea that, this is one that can be killed by drowning, and then there might be all these other rules involved with getting rid of them, it's like it just feels really the chaotic potential is really great. I feel like they don't do it to the justice they could have, and that's the disappointing part for me about these demons. Is like they set up that there could be crazy amount of shit coming, and then it's ultimately like just like running around slapsticking in a tomb. But like things could have been a lot worse, and I wish they'd made them worse. But it was still.
And it's also nice to see like Anya, because she's got like 11,000 years or 1,100 years of like demon history, like can just immediately like even better than Giles, like recognize a demon and be like, that one dies this way. Like I used to date one of those 500 years ago.
Oh,
it's nice.
Go ahead, sorry.
I'm just saying it's a nice bit of world building that they're, like at any given time, there's like 10 random demons within half-mile radius. Just, like they're there, Oh,
that's something I wanted to like, because they poof away at the end. Like I was going to be like, did the spell spawn them or were they drawn there?
That was really weird. That was a really weird touch. It's like, why did they disappear? Just because the episode's ending? Like,
it would have been funnier if they like just woke from the spell also and were like, oh, sorry about that. Like, I was taking care of my kid. What happened?
I like your demon voice. Demon Cookie Monster.
I gotta say the demon cosmology, like genealogy or whatever you want to call it, like the amount of the demon catalog is really crazy on Buffy, and it gets so much crazier on Angel. Yeah. So I just watched an episode. Well, I mean, all of Angel. I want to say every episode, but they just introduced so many weird demons on that show that haven't yet transgressed or like not transgressed. They haven't made it their way over to Buffy yet. So for instance, there's an episode where Wesley reappears, which I just saw, which was amazing. And there's like a crazy demon speaks another language, and like these there's these. I mean, it's just so many weird, hard to describe easily. And I would love to get your take on all of them, Dennis, when we do an Angel recap. But
just so the audience knows, we're gonna do an Angel recap. I think in a few episodes, on episode 12 of this season, we will. Recap the first 11 episodes of Angel. And one thing I really like about the Buffyverse in general, and Angel's doing it faster than Buffy did, is like it's starting to introduce the grays of the world, and like the demons can be good people kind of deal. And when you do that, you then get to like explore them as more than things you just fight, but as like the demon like folklore and the demon like communities, So I'm super glad you're into that stuff because that's totally my jam. Yeah,
I was reading Alan Moore's Providence this past couple days. Do you guys know that one? Anyway, more Lovecraftian Alan Moore, and there's an interesting epistolary bit where a guy is basically writing to his diary, and he wants to be a novelist. And he's talking about how he would like to move away from the werewolf vampire world and find some more interesting monsters and base them on the world that he lives in. And totally that. Like, we want different stuff. And the fact that Angel reaches so deeply into weird places, I can't wait to talk about it. Anyway.
And that's also what I'm like. I just finished the first draft of my thumbnails for Whisper in the Woods.
Woo!
And that's totally like my theory and stuff is like about exploring more monsters than we've seen before. So these monsters are going to be based more on like organic, like the bugs of the world and stuff. But I'm trying to create I'm into it, man. That sounds super vague. Sorry, I just can't go into too much right now. But like, just that, there's more than vampires and werewolves, right? Like, and those are the things that have the most specific rules we know. But like, the world exists for these other things, and they have rules we just don't know about, right? Whatever they are. Mike, what do you think about Riley?
Hey, what do you guys think about dating a woman who lied to you about being married?
When you're her TA.
That's the bigger problem.
Oh my God. So I actually had I don't know if you guys saw that I put an emoji in the docs for this, the puke emoji. Because the episode when she says you have a lot to learn about women, and he's like, "You're gonna teach me."
Yeah, that's
you've got to teach me. It's like, come on, like he's so like this entire. I mean, this maybe always, but like this entire episode, he's like trying so hard to be deep, and it's like the actor can't be deep, but also the character can't be deep, and it's just so like it's so painful. It's yeah.
I mean,
Gross.
in fairness, like that is kind of what the episode's about. Like Buffy is sitting there being like, "Am I really going to date this guy? He seems kind of boring, and shouldn't I date somebody who's a monster?" She is having that dialogue with herself like the whole time.
Yeah. Well, I like in the Thanksgiving episode, she's like, "I like my evil like I like my men." Evil. I think I agree with Buffy's Thanksgiving assessment of the men.
Yeah.
Date.
I think there's a happy medium somewhere in between, actual evil monster and guy who seems kind of boring and is your TA in one of your classes. Like that, there's somewhere in between. Hopefully.
Also, like Riley saying that, like, teach me about women. Sounds very much like the relationship he's gotten himself into with Anya, where he's like, Anya, tell me when I say dumb thing.
That's a good point.
That's like very much like maybe it's a male fantasy also, or maybe that's the anti-male fantasy. I don't know about like I want to just be as dumb as I am, but have somebody correct me like slow. I can slowly learn, but this way I don't have to put the effort in myself. I'll just be like slowly edited.
Well, and like if I said to my girlfriend like teach me about women, she'd be like, "Why do you want me to teach you about women? Who are you gonna go date now?" Like, no, like what? And I mean, I did like I thought it was interesting that they kind of gave like a little bit of like that kind of like attachment theory stuff because she actually said like I think the line I pulled this line out. She said, "Can a nice safe relationship be that intense?" And like they had this like moment where it was like, oh, like. And I think that's an interesting thought. Like it's an interesting thing to sort of bring up and throw in there, especially in a show that has a lot of these like really weird, kind of twisted relationships that they have. So yeah, I don't know. Just bring it down a little bit.
Yeah, well, I don't have an answer. I mean,
yeah.
You got Riley in one hand, and then a guy you tie up in a bathtub on the other.
I mean, I know which character I'd rather spend time with. Like Spike is so much more fun and interesting than Riley, even when he's a bad guy. I don't want to spend any time looking in Riley's eyes, but the show forces me to.
All right. Why don't we wrap this up with Mike's last comment?
Oh, you talked about this briefly, but the Vengeance Demon clearly operates, his business, or he operates his recruitment like a business. And as soon as Willow's like, I'm not really interested. You showed me my friends for a second. I realized they're in trouble. I don't know. That's probably shouldn't have done that.
He's like, oh, my pitch was wrong. I'll work on this for the next time.
And then he's like, oh, here, take my talisman. Look me up.
Oh, well.
No, he's like, I think he would have kept arguing, but it was 5:00. And he was just like, I'm not going to take this home.
Yeah. He had to go watch some Simpsons reruns, so he was like, I'm done.
Well, it works nicely in the way the arc of the episode, because it's obviously like a subverting expectations thing where the music swells and then it's just they cut it off. It's a gag. But it's nice because it I think in the way the episode functions, because it's a signal to the audience. Like you think the episode is about this, you think it's going to be about this monster, but it's actually about this other thing, which is cool. I think that was a neat. It was a neat little trick of writing, and I think it works in the episode.
Agreed.
I want to have one more observation to this crowded section, but while watching this, I did think that Oz was going to be reappearing in this episode, just based on the foreshadowing in the early part, where Willow's so much longing for Oz, and then when he didn't appear, I just expected her to wish for him, and she didn't.
Yeah. Like if she's that upset and that torn up, she's not muttering or like walking around muttering like I wish he was here. Like she can accidentally like make Giles blind, but she doesn't accidentally say I wish he was here at any point. Like I thought it was really weird.
He can't even make the Q-tip unbendy though, so
yeah.
That's fair.
I don't think the episode's really clear on how the magic works, right?
I think it's just badly because she's not very good at the spell, so it's kind of it's sort of like when you like splice wires badly and they work intermittently.
Oh, I thought it was like when she wishes for something in a particular like declarative way, and not when she says like I will that like.
Right.
Let's move on to questions for the group. Questions for the group.
I thought that Riley's idea for a picnic date where he prepares all the food and Buffy just shows up. I thought that sounded lovely, and I'm totally going to steal that date.
Lovely.
I'm going to use that. What's the best date that you've ever been on?
Been on?
Yeah. What date you been on?
I don't know if it's my best. The one that comes to mind the quickest for me is I did a double date at the drive-in and it was partially the combination of like events that happened that was nice. We did double date at the drive-in where we brought our own like beer and stuff, and then we watched How to Train Your Dragon, and the audio went out just at the right time where one of us, and in my memory I think it was me, but you know that's my memory, started singing the Aladdin like a whole new world like at just the right time, and like everybody started to sing it, and it like perfectly synced up with like what was happening with them, like let me show you how I fly my dragon moment, and like just as we finished singing, the like sound cut back in, and it was like, oh, we just made that so much better by doing that.
Aw, that's a lovely memory, Dennis. I thank you for sharing that.
So I like drive-ins also for dates. They're fun.
Are there any left?
Yeah.
There's one in Vermont.
There's one out here, close to Portland. I don't remember where, but there is one.
If you just go driving one night, you'll find it.
Any good dates, fellas?
I was going to say, last night I had a really nice time with my wife. We went to a housewarming party, and we ended up being the last guests with the other couple. And so it got very double datey, and we hung out and looked at stars together. And so one of my friends, her husband has a huge, like more than a hobby, a telescope, like not a refracting, but a reflecting telescope. And it's massive and wonderful. And we got to look at planets, and it was lovely and romantic. That was really fun. And tell you what, looking at Saturn that's just amazing. I mean, even if it's a little dot, it just looks like a little eyeball icon or something. It's fantastic. It was just nice just to hang out like that, and it was very spontaneous, and there's a little bit of dumb male energy going on, but it was fun. Where this is going to be in my mind forever. But anyway, yeah. Where my buddy, in order to reduce the light pollution, just cut a few cables in his garage for outdoor lights. It's pretty amazing.
Wow, it's like, yeah, that's baller. I took somebody once to. I'm a big autumn fan. I really like the fall, and I took someone for one of my first dates with them to a pumpkin patch, and we. Those of you who haven't, other than Michael, haven't seen me in person, I wear a pink hoodie a lot. And so I wore a pink hoodie, and she had this like rainbow dress on. And this woman walked up, and this is one of the first times we went out. This woman walked up to us and was like, "You guys are so bright. I love this. It's so great." And we got to go to the pumpkin patch and like pick out pumpkins and like do all the dumb things where you put your face in the things where you take pictures. And it was a really good time. And it like kind of, it was one of those ones where like you plan it to be fun and you do like extra things. I brought like disposable cameras for us, and it ended up actually going as well as you want it to. So that was a good one.
That's nice. My best date, I think, the first date that I had with my current partner is I was so sick of bad, boring internet first dates that I was like, we're going to go to the Mutter Museum, which is here in Philly, and it's a 19th century medical museum, and it's full of like fetuses in jars that are malformed, and there's this like incredible part where there's this doctor who he has this like in the 19th century, this doctor collected like hundreds of things that he pulled out people's throats that they were choking on, and so it's this insane collection of like pins and nails and bits of food and small toys, all from like the late 1800s. And we just went through all these drawers, and we were just laughing our asses off looking at all the things people were choking on. It was a really wonderful date, and we, it worked. We're married now, so it's
hey. So you didn't choke.
That's right. That was I don't know, a good thing I did.
Good job, John.
Looking for an aphorism, but it didn't come.
Congratulations to all of us on having dates. So that's it for questions for the group this week. I'm going to move us on to recommendations.
Recommendations.
And so I did something a little different this episode. I thought since there's the 3 main characters got hit with spells, I would make movie recommendations based on those spells. So Buffy being trapped about to get married, it's something that like she willingly wouldn't do. Reminded me of the 1931 Svengali with John Barrymore, where John Barrymore plays Svengali, the amazing hypnotist who like hypnotizes a beautiful young woman into falling in love with him so he can marry her. And like, you know, the story is about like the boyfriend trying to save him and stuff. And John Barrymore plays a really great, creepy, I guess he's maybe a gypsy or something, but he's a hypnotist. And the term Svengali comes from that, like that it's just hypnotism. And there's a really great line where he like makes the woman say like, I love you. And then Svengali feels like, oh, that's such an empty gesture. And he goes, never mind. It's just Svengali talking to Svengali. So that's my recommendation for the Buffy section. For Giles Going Blind, I recommend the 2002 J-horror movie, The Eye, about somebody who's been blind since they were 2 getting eye transplants that turn out to be haunted by ghosts. It was remade into a Jessica Alba movie, but I recommend the J-horror version. As always, when it comes to like American remakes of Japanese horror. And then this one is dumb because it's more based on the title than actually what happens in the movie. But for Xander becoming a demon magnet, I recommend the 2002 movie Demon Lover, which is a weird movie about like people trying to like do an online, like people trying to like bid and stuff about like anime pornography. And like it gets like surreal and weird, and it's like a very like hackers type styled movie. It's a weird movie. I kind of like it, but it's not a movie I rewatch a lot or anything. But Demon Lover, 2002.
That sounds insane. I'm not even sure I followed what you were talking about there.
So how do we feel? Do we want to go into themes or predictions? What are we? I feel like predictions is going to be pretty exciting this week.
Oh, you have a feeling?
I've got a feeling.
I would like to hear if any predictions were resolved this week.
Virgin predictions.
Okay, so at current standing, looking back at all of the predictions that we have confirmed or denied, 62.9 of them have been confirmed, and the remainder denied. Putting Mike at a low D minus. We're waiting to see if he crosses the line into an F. Will it happen today?
I hope he raises back to a 69.
Nice.
So there is one that does actually, I was looking for, it actually did not apply. So at one point, Mike predicted that Amy will become a human and she'll have a scandalous reveal. But that prediction was in season 3. So that one has already been denied. We're past
no!
that. Yeah.
That's
So
what I was thinking about.
I was looking forward to a long conversation about whether or not that was scandalous and what constitutes a scandalous reveal, but it's moot. So, all right.
I think Mike definitely needs to make a new prediction then about Amy's reveal, scandalous or not.
All right. Season 3, episode 4, Mike predicts Buffy will hook up with Angel and then Spike. We know that Buffy has hooked up with Angel. I think that is not up for debate, but did Buffy and Spike hook up in this episode? Was this a hook up? What is a hook up?
I don't know if earlier on, because I feel like we've had arguments about the term hookup before, so I don't know what's been decided. I don't recall, but I would call this a hookup. I would say
they were making out enough that like they didn't notice that their friends were almost getting choked by a demon. So like that's probably yeah.
So we're gonna call this a hookup.
I think this is their first official first, perhaps only, official hookup,
All right.
which is very exciting for Spuffy fans.
So that is a confirmation from Mike. Okay, we
I'm
have.
glad that we decided that was a hookup.
Were you going to freak out if it did?
Yeah, I was about to have a thing.
I don't think it is a hookup.
Season 3. Season 3, episode 8. Spike will assist Buffy on a mission of some kind. So they've been kind of interrogating him, and he does give them some information that seems like it might be useful. Does Spike, and in this one, he helps with the spell, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is Spike assisting Buffy on a mission?
I think he actively tries to, so I think it counts. Because,
Okay.
like, whether his assistance comes to anything or not, like that would be like arguing whether Xander has ever helped Buffy on a mission, right? I think he actively tries to, and he does like fight some, or no, he doesn't fight demons because he's like, if they come, I can't do anything to protect you, right?
So Dennis says confirmed. Jim, what say you?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's close enough.
All right, we'll confirm that one for Mike. Hey, this is 2 confirmations in a row here. This is quite a roll here. Here's one that I think I know where this conversation is going to go, but in the season 3 wrap-up episode that we did, Mike predicted that Buffy and Spike will have sex in season 4. Now, it's possible that off-screen somewhere that they had sex, like in the bathtub or whatever, with the manacles. I don't know, but like, what do you guys think? Do you think Buffy and Spike had sex at some point in this episode?
I wouldn't call it. I wouldn't call it one way or the other. I would let that one slide for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we can't really confirm it, so I can't give a confirmation on that one either.
So we will leave that one open. It's not a denial because they could have sex at any time.
And I think because at the very end, the thing Spike can dig on Buffy about is the wind beneath my wings. That means he doesn't have the sex to dig on her about.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Yeah, if he could have made fun of her about sex, he would have.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's an excellent point. Okay, all right. So we said Mike was at a 62.9. Mike is now at a 63.5. So well done, Mike. Climbing those charts.
Just like Blink-182 in 99. I have some predictions, but I wanted to bring up one. Did we already solve or resolve the prediction about Willow summoning all of the elements, mastering all of the elements? Because she calls all of the elements during her
wow.
Oh, Mike. Whoa, no, we have not
paid attention to that. She puts them by name. Let me bring up the spell here.
Dude, wow. Damn, Mike, that is good.
Willow says, and this is what got me going, "Hearken all ye elements, I summon thee now. Control the outside, control within, land and sea, fire and wind, out my passions, a web be spun. From this eve forth my will be done, so mote it be."
So mote it be.
That is 4 elements. The prediction states Willow will master the 4 elements.
I did not hear Earth.
Land and sea. Land! She said land!
Fuck. Damn it.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
What about heart? Does she master heart?
She said out of my passions. She does mention the magic 5th element. The element that need not be named.
All right. Well,
all right. Congratulations.
I guess that's it. Wow, Mike.
That's amazing.
I want to give you some kind of bonus points, but that's not going to do that.
I should be looking through the predictions thing more regularly than you.
Okay.
All right. This is minor spoilers. In season 5, episode 1, Willow starts a beach fire, and she says, like, oh, it's about balancing the 4 elements. So that was what I thought in my head was the indication that she, like, had controlled the 4 elements.
So you'll be happy to know, instead of what did I say before, 63.5, you are now at a 63.8.
Hey, that's 64.
Oh, 64, rounding up. So here's the predictions. Spike will make another joke, one joke at least, about the time that he and Buffy planned their wedding together in season 4. Like he can't leave that alone. It's too good. The Vengeance Demon Maker will return in a future plot twist.
His name's DeHoffrin.
DeHoffrin, sorry. I didn't know how to spell it. De Hoffman.
Yeah, I don't know how to spell it either.
Okay, right, just Dustin Hoffman. Anya is going to get the calling card token from Willow. I don't know if you need this calling card token to see this guy, but she's going to get it. Amy will have another scandalous reveal. Harmony is going to be jealous of the Buffy Spike hookup. Even though she's over Spike, whatever, there's going to be some jealous rage. And then Jim Withington wrote, Jim is going to buy a Kiss Librarian mug. But that is not a prediction of mine.
That's not a Buffy prediction.
That is
on an enamel pin instead. That's much better. So
that's outside the Buffyverse.
Okay.
It's in the Jim-verse.
If you say
I also saw that there's T-shirts that say Xander Demon Magnet.
Oh man.
There's I was trying to see if I could find the chocolate poster from their dorm room.
Oh yeah.
And it's out of print, and there's a whole bunch of people on the Amazon page for it talking about Buffy. It's just some random poster that this artist made.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
You never know what your legacy will be. All right. Well, that's it for predictions, I believe. So let's move on to themes and deep stuff.
Deep stuff.
John, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I don't know what everybody else got out of this episode. It's not an overly deep episode, I feel like, but so there's the thing that kind of one of the things that runs through it is Willow wants to rush through her grief, and everybody, she in this episode is a kind of a parable about how you can't do that. You can't take shortcuts through grief because then monsters or whatever. And I guess I want to say that there's some truth to that probably, but I also feel like it's equally true that people don't want to solve their own problems because they feel like they didn't work hard enough for them. Sometimes you should just do the thing that works in life. That's I feel like one of the lessons I've learned is that in my life is sometimes if something works, just do it. If you don't always need to feel like you worked hard to get something. I'm being really vague. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, I've been told, there's a difference between grief and wallowing, right? And
I guess that's what I want to say. Yeah.
Sometimes if you're not looking for shortcuts, you're maybe not looking for a way to move forward at all, right?
There you go. That's better stated than what I was trying to say. That's right, Dennis. Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Yeah, good theme, John. Yeah, I feel like my theme is maybe not the opposite, but it's I like that in this episode, Willow is having a harder time than she was last episode because sometimes grieving isn't linear. And a lot of things don't, a lot of fiction doesn't seem to understand that, right? I just like that. It's you can be having a good week or a week where you're focused on other stuff. And then some shit hits you and you're back to the beginning again, So I like that the episode isn't treating this well, she's at 10%. She's 10% better than she was last week. And by this curve, she'll be perfectly fine in 3 episodes,
Yeah.
That's really well said, Dennis. That's really beautiful. I feel like I didn't understand that until you said it, but it totally makes sense.
All right. Jim, what do you got to say?
Well, I touched on this a little bit, but I think that there was that sort of mini sort of theme of Buffy, wondering if a nice, safe relationship can also have fireworks, or if you can only have fireworks if you're fighting all the time. And I think that's something that people get trapped into, where they're, they'll meet somebody who's really good for them, but for some reason they're boring. And I was actually reading I watched a talk about this kind of earlier in the week, and this guy was talking about how you're looking for someone who treats you in a familiar way rather than someone who is actually good for you a lot of times. And so I thought it was kind of interesting to to watch that 2 days ago and then watch this episode and be oh yeah, this is exactly what that guy was talking about. Is she's used to the familiar of this whacked out relationship, with these with a vampire, but she can't really sort of fathom like just being with like this doofus who just is like, teach me about women, and like, but is actually like genuinely like trying. Like he's like, let's go on a picnic and let's go driving, and at least he's certainly more normal than the other people we've seen her with, and I think
For sure.
it's interesting that like she's actually kind of bringing that whole thing up of like, oh yeah, maybe I don't like him because he's just kind of there,
Yeah, I can't. That's interesting. I feel like I've never liked that kind of TV trope of like, like the normal guy is boring, or whatever, like a relationship that feels comfortable then doesn't have sparks, because like you can always, I don't know, like I'd rather, like you can have a relationship that feels comfortable in my head at least and still have sparks. There's a difference between like intensity and stuff and like genuine danger, I guess, and like maybe it's different when you're Buffy and like you like genuine danger is like a thing you actually deal with all the time. Like I don't know, why bring real danger into like a real relationship if you don't have to, I guess.
Yeah So yeah, it was good. It was a good part. It was kind of interesting how like they front loaded that, and then they didn't really talk about it much more after that. I mean, I guess they kind of did, but yeah.
John, why don't you read Travis's deep stuff?
Yeah, so before we lost Travis, he commented, he said, I like that they are trying to rebuff love as a trope and try a more adult approach to a relationship.
Rebuff. Buff. All right.
I'm just trying to understand what Travis means by that. Obviously, he's better interpreting his own notes. Anybody else feel like they understand his mind?
I feel like he's talking about Riley there, right? Not about
Yeah, I think so.
Spike being the or maybe he's talking about Anya and Xander and their relationship being more adult.
There is fruit roll-ups involved, so
Yes, the fruit roll-ups. So let's leave that mystery as the finale for this episode. I've been your host, Dennis St. John. You can buy my comics online on Amazon. I'm The Land of Many Monsters and Many More Monster Tales is now on sale at a cheaper price, so get it now. And all you who bought it at the full price, thank you, you suckers.
I'm a sucker.
I love you anyway. I'm DENISCOMIX on Twitter and .com. Mike, where can people find you?
At Michael Poley on Twitter, and that's about it right now. I'm on YouTube, but just Twitter me.
Jim, what are you doing online?
Oh, I'm on microblog at JW, and then I'm also on Twitter at JWithy, WITHY.
John, you got anything to promote this week?
Not at the moment. Nope.
All right. Well, you can find us, Buffy Virgin, online at Buffy Virgin Pod on Twitter, at Buffy Virgin on Instagram, BuffyVirgin.com. We are all over the place. We're fun. Subscribe, like, give us reviews. We love it. And we'll see you in hell.